everyone, Lou here. Happy Pride Month! Although I am not part of the LGBTQ plus community myself, I am a massive supporter of it and I love to recommend anime or characters to my viewers so that people in the community don't feel alone and that there is representation for them. Although I made a video a few years ago tackling LGBTQ plus anime, I thought it'd be fun to tackle characters in anime who are LGBTQ plus. Since not every anime does have those themes, and sometimes it's just a one-time character or a different genre, I'm also going to account anime-inspired games in here too into this pool just because it's really small, so I did kind of have to stretch it a little. Alright, let's get started. Kanji Tatsumi from Persona 4. Although I'm not very far into Persona 4, I did play the story for the dancing game from a collab I did with my friend Sleep Live, so I got to know Kanji's story a lot from there, as well as, playing a bit of the game Persona 4 Golden myself. Kanji is heavily implied to be gay throughout the storyline of Persona 4, and he holds a lot of insecurity in that. Growing up in a small town like this, it's implied Kanji was told that all gay men are heavily feminine and weak-minded, which made Kanji terrified that he's secretly feminine and weak-minded solely because he is gay and enjoys sewing, knitting, and crafting. This theme of toxic masculinity is very strongly written in my eyes, and thanks to you in the Mystery Gang, he begins to accept that it's okay to have masculine and feminine interests, as well as dropping the toxic masculinity bullshit that was forced on him by societal expectations. Still weird though that this is the closest Atlas ever gets to LGBTQ plus themes, despite the entire Persona series being about breaking societal expectations and being who you truly are. Also, I wish they made Kanji dateable, but alas, I'll have to leave that up to the wonderful modding community of the Persona games. Personality-wise, Kanji is your stereotypical tough guy delinquent, but with a soft side, but like with all Persona games, there's just a lot more nuance and personality to him. Much like how Yusuke is the starving artist, but there's a lot more to him than just that, I love Kanji's personality though. He reminds me of Jotaro Kujo, who is one of my favorite JoJo characters. I mean, it doesn't help that he's sometimes voiced by Matthew Mercer as well. Yeah, Persona dubbing was weird for Persona 4, so he's either voiced by Troy Baker or Matthew Mercer, depending on the versions. By the way, I would have put Naoto here as many assume she's a trans man, but it's literally said that Naoto only pretended to be a boy so that people in the police department took her seriously because it's social commentary on sexism in the workplace. At least that's my takeaway from it. You can see Naoto as an honorable mention here as a trans man if you guys want though. Personally, I just view her as a woman who was just trying to be taken seriously in the workplace. Overall, I love Kanji, and I hope that someday Atlas dives more into positive LGBTQ plus themes again like this, because gosh damn we need it. That, and if you're gonna force me to play as a boy, and I'm not interested in women, then at least let me date guys. Grell Sutcliffe from Black Butler. Now, Grell is kind of a hot topic and heavily debated as whether or not she's a drag queen or a trans woman due to translation errors and Yana's kind of vagueness on Grell's gender due to Japan's stigma against the trans community. However, in the eyes of multiple trans friends, I've asked about the subject as well as Hazel's amazing video on Grell. It's pretty obvious she's a trans woman. Albeit her backstory does play on the LGBTQ plus characters fall into tragedy and death stereotype, which isn't good. But then again, this is a semi-realistic look at the Victorian era, so it wasn't like being a trans woman was exactly a nice time when authors like Oscar Wilde lost their entire fortune just for being gay, so Grell's backstory as a human is unknown for now. All we know is that she took her own life from depression from gender dysphoria and is now a Grim Reaper to atone for taking her own life until she can go to the afterlife. That part still isn't clear. Even in death, Grell happily embraces her trans identity and constantly refers to herself with older female pronouns and even calls herself an actress. However, Grell says she always wanted children of her own but couldn't have any as a trans woman who can't carry kids. So when she meets Madame Red, who also couldn't have children, they became very close and killing together as Jack the Ripper as revenge on service workers who had frequent terminations, if you catch my drift. Now, is brutally killing service workers and her own friend a bad thing? I mean, I shouldn't have to ask that question because duh, but to many, Grell is just a really fun character as she's incredibly charming and funny whenever she's in the manga. I can't tell you how many of my friends start typing Queen in the group chat when we talk about the latest chapters of Black Butler, and Grell happens to be featured in it. Although Grell is not really a positive representation of trans women, she is a fan favorite for a reason. Grell is confident, fun-loving, wild, and a really awesome character to see fight on screen with her fucking chainsaw. There's a reason Grell is usually 3rd or 4th place in polls of fan favorite Black Butler characters. She's just a character you really can't hate despite her disgustingly shitty actions. Overall, I adore Grell Sutcliffe, and despite doing some really shitty stuff, she's just a fun character to root for. That is 2023, and I say we should all have the critical thinking to know that you can enjoy a character who has done some really shitty things without it being a reflection on yourself, just saying. Before I get to the grand finale, here's a scrolling list of honorable mentions of LGBTQ plus characters in anime. I didn't make a full entry for them because they're either barely mentioned, barely appear, or their representation was so messy and or bad that I feel like it's not my business or respectful to discuss it. Mizuki Akiyama from Project Sakai. Being that the secret behind Project Sakai is that all our main characters have trauma or struggles under every issue under the sun, from dealing with abusive parents, learning that maybe being a bitch to your friends isn't nice, and even learning that although you have to mature, you can still be an imaginative child at heart if you want to. In this case, Mizuki of the group Night Court at 2500 is a trans girl who fears no one will accept her for who she is. Now, to many, Mizuki's gender is a hot topic, as many in Project Sakai's community don't validate her very obvious status as a trans girl due to the game itself not having her directly state she's trans, despite the fact that anyone with knowledge of LGBTQ plus themes and reading comprehension could put 2 and 2 together that Mizuki is a trans girl. Now, technically, Mizuki's pronouns are never given in the game. Characters dodge around referring to Mizuki by any gender description, and even the game itself never once states Mizuki by any gendered pronoun, even they, them sometimes. So, although it's possible Mizuki is non-binary or even gender fluid, I'm of the group that believes she's a trans girl. In terms of backstory, I'm only going to be able to go based off what's been shown in the English events so far, as the Japanese server stories involving her sister is not translated as of yet at the time of this video, and I want to wait for the official English translation, as I saw some pointing out that the sort of fan translations are kind of off in a lot of areas. Anyway, Mizuki struggled a lot with her gender when she was younger. Born a boy, she never felt like she fit in her own body, and thus became more closed off year after year from how unhappy she was and how afraid she was of coming out, until middle school, where she befriended Rui Kamishiro, who I think is implied to have helped her come out by realizing her own gender. That's what I took from the school event anyway. Starting in her freshman year of high school, Mizuki decided to come out as a trans girl, but a large majority of students who, I guess, kind of put 2 and 2 together, don't accept her and even talk shit about her loudly behind her back. It got to a point where Mizuki felt deeply unsafe at school, and even as far as just changing her shirt made her feel deeply unsafe and afraid that people would abandon her if they found out she was trans. So she's mostly homeschooled and only attends classes as part of a mandatory thing once a week or once a month. I don't know, Japan's homeschooling is kind of confusing for me. Being a lover of fashion and video editing, Mizuki began uploading her fashion and music videos online, where she then met Kanade and became known as Amiya to the group, where all the girls struggling with depression, acceptance, and gender become besties. Throughout the rest of Night Court at 2500 stories, Mizuki is deathly afraid of the girls finding out she's trans and genuinely believing they'll abandon her once they find out, despite how open and supportive all the girls are towards each other. Although it's sad to see Mizuki struggle with it, I've read from a lot of trans Vocaloid fans on Twitter in essays regarding Night Court at 2500 stories that Mizuki is a really relatable and beautiful trans representation. First of all, Mizuki isn't constantly suffering and is it's actually the optimism that holds the group together and helps them with their depressive episodes, as seen when Mizuki helped Kanade remember a beautiful memory from her childhood when she was at the park with her parents. That and Mizuki's sense of style is just gorgeous. Mizuki wears a fashion style in Japan called jiraike. This style is extremely controversial though, in that this style is often associated with glamorizing or fantasizing mental health issues, but in character design it's genuinely meant just to show this cutesy Lolita looking girl has depression, which I guess fits Mizuki in this case. She's also extremely important, technically, in the other groups, as she's a costume designer for Wonderland Showtime because of her friendship with Rui, and I think it's implied she does the costumes for More Jump too. Overall, I adore Mizuki, and I'm glad that we have such a sweet trans representation in an anime-based game that doesn't die and just doesn't continue sinking into a ball of depression. That and she sings Villain by Tenny Woha featuring V-Flower, so that's literally the trans anthem for the Vocaloid community, so I don't know what you guys want here. That would be it for this video. Let me know down below what you guys think. I know I did highlight a lot of trans characters in this video, but trust me when I say that trans characters in anime in general, handled respectfully, is an extremely rare thing. But if you guys want a video like this again next year, I'll be happy to include even more. As always, let me know down below what you think of the video. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!